Hello there. We're going to look at rounding to decimal places in this short video. Here's a number with a lot of figures after the decimal point. And that amount of accuracy we seldom need in everyday life. More importantly, from your point of view, you will be asked in the exam or in your homework or in class to round. So let's look, how do we round to 1? I'm going to use the abbreviation DP, decimal place. Well, here's what we do. We put an arrow above the figure that we've got to round to. So there it is, 1 place after the decimal point. We get rid of all the other figures and we then look at the first figure we crossed out. This was a 3. Now the rule is this: if you cross out, the first figure you cross out is a 4, a 3, a 2, a 1 or a 0, that is 4 or below, then the last figure you keep does not change. So this becomes 7.1 to 1 dp. And we generally write the degree of approximation, rounding, here in brackets. Let's look at that again. We're going to round to 2 decimal places. Let's get rid of all this clutter here. Now, put our arrow above where we're rounding to. There it is, 2 places to the right of the decimal point. Get rid of all the others and look at the first figure crossed out. And the first figure crossed out was a 4. So once again, we don't change this, the last figure that we have to the left. So our answer is 7.13, the degree of rounding, 2 decimal places. Just get rid of this. Now, what about if we're asked to round to 3 decimal places? Well, here we go. We put an arrow above this figure here. That's what we're rounding to, so it's 3 places to the right. Just get rid of these little marks here. And we get rid of all the other figures. Then we look at the last figure. Sorry, the first figure we crossed out. The first figure we crossed out was 5. That means that this last figure that we kept, where the arrow is, we're going to make 1 bigger. So to 3 decimal places, the answer is 7.135. Then in brackets, 3 decimal places. Right, let's look at some complications, some more complicated instances of rounding. Now, let's look at these complications. Now, what happens when we round this to 1 decimal place? Well, there aren't many complications here. Oh, sorry, I better just make it clear. Round to 1 decimal place. Well, remember what we do, get rid of all the other figures to the right. What do we cross out first? A 9. That means we make the last figure we keep, this 8, 1 bigger. So it's 4.9 to 1 decimal place. What about though if we were asked, what happens when we try to round to 2 decimal places? So here's our problem, round to 2 decimal places. Well, here goes our arrow. Let's cross out all the figures to the right. The first one we crossed out was a 5, so we're going to make that 9 1 bigger. But what's 1 bigger than 9? 1 bigger than 9 is 10. So what happens is there's a knock-on effect. That 10 then affects the 8 to its left, which becomes 1 bigger. So to 2 decimal places, the answer is 4.90. Another way of looking at it is to think, look, these 2 figures I'm keeping are 89. What's 1 bigger than 89? 90, which is probably a better way of looking at it. But really what's happening is this 9 is going up to 10, and then using our system of recording numbers, that 10 is shown by this going down to 0 and the number to the left, the figure to the left, going up by 1. Just show you that once more with the classic example, as I call it. We're going to round that to 1 decimal place. Here we go. That's what we're going to round to. Get rid of all the others. What did we cross out first? We crossed out first an 8. So this 9 becomes 1 bigger. 1 bigger than 9 is 10. So everything to the figure to the left of that goes up by 1, and this goes down to 0. So the answer is 4.0 to 1 decimal place. Notice how I included that 0. I know you've probably been taught to, when you get numbers like 4.0, just write it as 4. But when we're rounding and showing that there's been some approximating, we keep the 0 to show that that's the degree of accuracy. Later on you'll find at higher level GCSE and A level why this is very important. Okay, thank you for listening.